Marisol woke up early, ready for another day in the classroom. Even with the sun hiding behind the horizon and the house in a quiet whisper, she prepared herself while she thought about the challenges that awaited her, especially how to handle Yasmin, her most problematic student. Maybe today he'll show more interest, she told herself hopefully, although she knew it was unlikely. Upon arriving at school, she greeted some students and headed to her classroom. The morning moved quickly and soon it was time for Yasmin's class. The students began to take their places and Yasmin entered, as always, stealing everyone's attention. "Did you see my new watch?" she boasted as she showed off an ostentatious watch that claimed to be from a famous brand. "I bet no one here has one like it." Marisol watched from her table, noticing how some students seemed uncomfortable with Yasmin's boasting. "Let's start class," Marisol said, trying to focus attention on the academic day. However, Yasmin seemed more interested in her motive than in the discussion about literature. "Yasmin, could you put your cell phone away, please? It's a school rule and I know you understand its importance," Marisol requested, trying to maintain her composure so as not to humiliate the young woman in front of her classmates. Yasmin only responded evasively, showing little interest in actively participating. After class, Marisol reflected on how to motivate Yasmin to value education and act with respect towards her classmates. "Maybe I should try to talk to his mother again, to see if she can make contact this time," Marisol thought. She knew that previous attempts had been unsuccessful, but she felt it was worth trying again. Taking the phone, she dialed Yasmin's mother's number. The phone rang several times, but, to Marisol's surprise, the call was forwarded to voicemail. "This is strange," she murmured worriedly, not expecting that even making a call would become so complicated. Dedicated to being more attentive to Yasmin, she planned to speak with her personally the next day to better understand the problem. After a tiring day, Marisol headed home, deep in thought about the day's interactions and the challenges of teaching such a diverse class. As she crossed a modest neighborhood, something caught her attention. In the distance, she saw a visibly upset Yasmin, crying in front of a house that she would never have associated with her student. For no apparent reason, Yasmin began to cry uncontrollably in front of the house. Marisol, moved by the desire to help, began to approach. Seeing her, Yasmin suddenly wiped away her tears and ran in the opposite direction. "Yasmin, wait!" Marisol called, but it was too late. Yasmin had disappeared. At the end of a day full of deep reflections, Marisol found herself automatically cutting vegetables, while muttering to herself, "Money does not bring happiness," a trite phrase, however. Deeply true. It never seemed so relevant. Yasmin, for all his boasting about wealth and status, also seemed to be searching for something else, something that money couldn't buy: acceptance, love, maybe even understanding. As she prepared dinner that night, Marisol thought about the complexity of human relationships and how we often misunderstand the motives behind people's actions. We have all felt at some point that we are missing something or felt alone. We all have our internal battles, she acknowledged. It is by sharing these experiences that we find comfort and strength. With this in mind, Marisol decided that the next day she would try a different approach with Yasmin. She would offer her support, not as a teacher, but as someone who really cares. The next morning, Marisol felt renewed determination. The clear sky at dawn was a promising sign that injected him with optimism. Upon arriving at school, she was greeted by the usual morning hubbub, but one figure stood out in that everyday environment: Valentina, with her humble attitude and her kind smile, Yasmin's opposite in almost every aspect. "Good morning, Professor Marisol," Valentina greeted with a smile that reached her eyes. "I hope you have a great day." Marisol returned the greeting, moved by the simplicity and sincerity of the young woman, who demonstrated a kind of wealth that money could not buy. The morning passed as planned, And recess soon arrived, a moment of rest for Marisol, although she could never completely ignore her role as an attentive observer. At the bend in the street, leaving Marisol alone with a feeling of helplessness and worry, she knew something was not right. The barrier Yasmin had built around herself seemed stronger than ever. Marisol sighed, knowing that forcing a conversation at that moment could only drive Yasmin further away. Upon returning home, she reflected on the image of Yasmin, so vulnerable and alone, which contrasted strongly with the confident and even arrogant personality that she showed at school. What could have hurt Yasmin so much as to make her cry like that in public? Would she have something to do with someone from that house? And what could she, as her teacher, do to help? When Marisol entered the classroom, her presence cut through the atmosphere of gossip like a knife, immediately demanding respect. The students, gathered in laughter and conversation, fell silent as she prepared to begin class. Today the topic was personal, a work about each student's family. Marisol explained that the goal was to share more about her background and what made each family unique. One by one, the students came to the front, presenting their stories, some full of warmth and love, others tinged with challenges and overcoming. When Yasmin's turn came, the room was filled with palpable anticipation. With an air of confidence, she began to describe his family, painting a portrait of unparalleled wealth and success. She talked about international travel, luxury cars and extravagant parties, emphasizing how her supposedly wealthy parents made her better and smarter than everyone else. They always say that I can have everything I want because we are different, better, Yasmin concluded with an arrogant smile. The room was silent after the presentation. Marisol, maintaining a neutral expression, processed the words before speaking. Thank you, Yasmin, for sharing about your family, Marisol began, her voice calm and controlled. It's interesting to hear about everyone's different experiences. She reminds us that although we may come from different backgrounds, there is one thing that money can't buy: happiness. Marisol continued, without referring directly to Yasmin, but making the point of her message clear. True wealth, he said, is not measured by money in the bank, cars in the garage, or vacation destinations. It is measured by moments shared with family, laughter, support in difficult times, and joy in celebrations. Happiness comes from knowing that no matter what happens, someone values and respects you, regardless of your origins or circumstances. Before that lesson, Yasmin had arrived late to school, her triumphant entrance drawing the attention not only of Marisol but of everyone around her. Valentina, always willing to understand and help, approached Yasmin with an expression of genuine concern. Is everything okay, Yasmin? You're late. I don't usually see you arrive at this time, and although we've never had a conversation per se, I want you to know that you can count on me for whatever you need, Valentina stated, her voice full of sincere concern. For the reasons for the delay, Yasmin, with a contemptuous look, replied arrogantly, I come whenever I want. People like me don't need to follow the same rules. Her voice was filled with cold pride, and she walked away, addressing a group of friends whose families owned the means that Yasmin only pretended to have. Valentina stood there, processing the rejection, her face reflecting the pain of humiliation. Marisol watched the scene from afar, her heart tightened by Valentina's sadness, knowing that it was time for her to intervene not only as a teacher but as someone who wanted to heal the fissures that were forming between her students. Walking up to Valentina, she placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. Valentina, don't take it personally, Marisol began, her voice soft but firm. Yasmin is dealing with his own problems and the way he treats others reflects that, not who you are. Valentina looked at Marisol, her eyes showing the damage she felt inside at being mistreated by someone she was only trying to make feel better. I just wanted to help, she murmured, her voice choked with emotion at what had happened. I know, and that shows the bigness of your heart, Marisol responded, offering an encouraging smile. I will talk to Yasmin. It is important that she understands the impact of his words and actions, even more so on a young woman as intelligent and kind as you. Valentina nodded, somewhat relieved to know that Marisol would help. As Yasmin walked alone down the street, her usually confident stride was diminished by uncharacteristic agitation. She occasionally looked back, wondering about her friends, who today, for some reason, had not offered to accompany her. They always want to be with me, Yasmin thought, trying to disguise her insecurity with the memory of her supposed popularity. There must be some reason why they are not here today. Her thoughts danced around the idea of loneliness and rejection, but she quickly pushed them away, focusing on the image of success and wealth that she worked so hard to maintain. However, Marisol's words in her class resonated in her mind. Money doesn't buy happiness, a concept that seemed as strange as it was unreal to her. But isn't money what keeps people on top? Doubt crept in, a seed planted by the teacher began to germinate, causing questions about her true friendships and the cost of her facade of perfection. On the other hand, Valentina left school surrounded by a group of friends, laughing and sharing stories from the day. The simplicity and authenticity of these interactions contrasted sharply with Yasmin's. Valentina valued every moment with her friends, knowing that it was the bonds and shared experiences that brought true joy, not material goods. Walking together along a path that led to everyone's houses, who lived close to each other in a humble neighborhood, Valentina and her group spotted Yasmin in the distance. Instinctively, Valentina greeted her, calling her with a welcoming smile, "Yasmin, come with us." Yasmin's response, however, was cold and distant. "No, thank you, I prefer to go alone," she said, her voice tinged with a pride that seemed more fragile than ever. With those words, Yasmin diverted her path, adopting a direction that distanced her from the group and symbolically from the possibility of a more authentic connection. While Yasmin walked away from her, Valentina's group watched her leave, surprised by her reaction. Valentina, however, felt something beyond confusion, a glimmer of compassion. She knew, somehow, that Yasmin's attitudes hid something deeper, an internal battle that Professor Marisol had begun to reveal. Yasmin, now walking an alternative route, fought against the lump that formed in his throat. Her friend's rejection, Valentina's offer, and her own arrogant response weighed on her more and more. "Why am I acting like this?" she questioned herself. Her confident facade beginning to crack. The road home never seemed so long. Each step of hers brought her closer not only to her physical destiny but to a reflection on who she was and what really mattered. Meanwhile, in the classroom at the end of class, Marisol looked around the room making eye contact with several students, including Valentina, who offered a shy smile in response. "Let's remember to value those moments and those people," Marisol concluded, "because in the end, those are the things that really matter." The class slowly emptied, leaving Marisol alone with her thoughts. She hoped that her words had made Yasmin reflect a little on his attitudes and what he valued in life. "I know that changing this girl's thinking isn't going to happen overnight," he thought, "but everything said to these teenagers has the power to slowly help them adjust and understand what's really important in life." The afternoon unfolded in soft shades of orange and pink, as Valentina and her friends continued on their way, the conversation flowing naturally. Although worried about Yasmin, Valentina felt grateful for the company of friends who valued each other. Marisol took advantage of a sunny weekend to dedicate herself to gardening, one of her passions. As she tended to her plants, she reflected on the simple beauty of nature and how each flower, regardless of its size or color, contributed to the vibrant mosaic of her garden. It was a peaceful moment, away from the worries of school, a reminder that beauty could be found in the simplest things. "Maybe I should bring some of these flowers to the classroom," Marisol thought, imagining the students' smiles when they saw a little nature in her learning environment. Valentina, for her part, was in the city's community library, a refuge where she could lose herself in stories that transcended her reality. "This one looks interesting," she commented to herself as she selected books that promised exciting adventures and meaningful learning. For Valentina, the knowledge acquired in books was a valuable treasure. A wealth that she could freely access, regardless of her financial situation. Yasmin was sitting on a bench in the square, watching people pass by while she flipped through the pages of a book from the same library that Valentina frequented. Although physically present in that public space, her mind wandered to more personal concerns. She thought about the clothes she had borrowed from a friend to maintain the appearance of a life that was not her own. "I have to return it before she notices it," Yasmin worried, aware that she would soon have to go back to wearing her own clothes, which did not reflect the image she wanted to project. The next day, Marisol's classroom was filled with the typical energy of a new school day. With students talking and laughing, preparing for the start of classes. Marisol, while organizing her materials in the front of the classroom, noticed Yasmin's absence. The young woman, always current in seeking her attention, was noticeably absent today. What could have happened to this girl? She wouldn't be missing for no reason, thought Marisol. Suddenly, the door opened and Yasmin entered, surprising everyone not because of her late arrival, but because of her appearance. Gone were the designer clothes and flashy accessories. Instead, Yasmin wore something much simpler, almost modest. His companions cast curious glances in his direction, murmuring among themselves about the unexpected change. Yasmin, sensing the stares, smiled slightly and said, "I'm just innovating today," trying to keep her pride intact. Throughout the day, Yasmin remained distant and thoughtful, a notable change from her usually assertive and sometimes arrogant demeanor. Her expression revealed a mixture of reflection and slight insecurity, as if her simple choice of clothing had transported her to a state of vulnerability that she rarely allowed to show itself. During lunch, Yasmin found herself isolated from her friends, perhaps confused or uncertain about how to react to her new appearance, did not invite her to join them. It was then that Valentina approached, a lunch tray in hand, and sat next to Yasmin. "Can I sit here?" Valentina asked, her voice filled with warm sincerity. Yasmin looked at her, surprised by her offer of company, but she quickly resumed her indifferent posture. "If you feel like it, yes," she replied, "I couldn't stop you." They started talking about trivial things, from homework to plans for the weekend. Gradually, Yasmin allowed herself to enter the conversation, revealing parts of his personality that he rarely showed to others. Despite his superior facade, there were times when his responses reflected a more thoughtful person. As Marisol navigated the school system in search of Yasmin's address, one quiet night at home, she couldn't help but be surprised to discover that she was registered in a neighborhood known for its simplicity and economic difficulties. Far from the luxurious settings that Yasmin I used to describe. Could there be some mistake? Marisol questioned herself, but something inside her knew that those digital coordinates revealed a truth that she needed to confront. Armed with gentle determination, Marisol headed to the indicated neighborhood on Saturday, an atypical day for school business, reflecting how much this situation disturbed her. The narrow streets and modest houses contrasted sharply with the image she had of Yasmin. As she approached the specified house, her heart beat with a mixture of anxiety and hope. Maybe she can help in some way, she thought, preparing to face the unknown. The house was particularly modest, even by neighborhood standards. Valentina, noticing Yasmin alone at lunch, decided to sit next to her and began the conversation lightly, commenting on the school day. "Isn't it amazing how every day at school seems to bring something new? Some surprises are good, others not so much," Valentina said, trying to start a friendly dialogue and sharing a bit of her simple and optimistic perspective on school life. Yasmin, somewhat surprised by Valentina's direct approach but feeling slightly more included, responded in a tone that she tried to keep light, despite her usual defensive posture. "Yeah, I guess so, there's always something going on, but you know, when you have as many things to do after school as I do, sometimes it's hard to pay attention," she said, hinting at an active social life full of commitments outside of school. School. Valentina, genuinely interested, asked more about what Yasmin did outside of school, hoping to better understand her classmate. "It must be exciting to have so many activities. What do you usually do?" Valentina asked, her natural curiosity allowing the conversation to flow organically. Yasmin took the opportunity to maintain his image, starting to talk about events and parties in which he supposedly participated. But as he detailed, small inconsistencies began to appear in his narrative. You know, parties, exclusive events. I was at this party last weekend, which, was cancelled at the last minute. So it ended up just me and some friends going out." Yasmin stumbled a little with words, trying to keep his story aligned with the personality he had created. Valentina noted the inconsistencies but initially decided not to press. However, curiosity and concern prevailed. "That sounds interesting, but last week you didn't mention having plans. I got the impression that you were going to spend the weekend studying for the math test," Valentina pointed out delicately, trying to discover the truth behind Yasmin's words. Yasmin felt cornered by Valentina's questions, realizing that her stories were beginning to fall apart. Frustration began to grow inside her, not wanting to be unmasked but also struggling to keep up her facade. "Look, I don't always talk about everything I do, things change, plans change," Yasmin responded, her voice charged with tension. The conversation was abruptly interrupted by the bell, marking the end of recess. Yasmin took the opportunity to quickly walk away, leaving Valentina alone with her doubts and worries. Valentina watched as Yasmin walked away from her, thinking about the complexity of her partner and what was really going on behind that facade of confidence and arrogance. In the following days, Yasmin's absence became noticeably worrying for Marisol. The young woman, who had always been a prominent presence in the classroom, was now an empty chair echoing with unanswered questions. Marisol, used to managing the ups and downs of school dramas, was particularly uneasy with this silence. It was a concern that went beyond academic concern. She was human, deep and genuine. Marisol stood in front of Yasmin's modest house, whose front garden, although maintained, showed signs of struggle against the lack of resources. She took a deep breath before knocking on the door, her mind whirling with possible scenarios. As the door opened, she was greeted by an older lady, whose expression was a mix of surprise and caution. "Good afternoon, sorry for the inconvenience, I'm Marisol, Yasmin's teacher. I'm a little worried about her since she's missed class. Is she okay?" Marisol asked, trying to convey both her concern and her respect for the girl's privacy. "Family," the woman at the door, Estella, relaxed a little when she heard Yasmin's name. A gentle smile illuminated her time-scarred face. Yes, Yasmin. I'm her mother, please come in," she said, opening the door wider for Marisol. The simplicity and gentleness in her reception contrasted sharply with the personality that Yasmin projected at school, shedding light on the complexities of the young woman's life that Marisol was only beginning to understand. Inside the modest residence, Marisol and Estella sat, and the conversation that followed revealed layers of Yasmin's reality that Marisol had never imagined. Estella, with a mixture of pride and sadness, shared that the family was going through acute financial difficulties. "We have been working on producing cakes to sell," Estella began, her voice steady despite the tiredness evident in her eyes. "Yasmin has been helping me, although he doesn't like the work very much. Marisol listened attentively, her heart heavy with the situation. Estella went on to explain how the lack of appropriate clothing and recent estrangement from Yasmin's friends were affecting the young woman's ability to fit in at school, a place where appearances seemed to matter more than she would like to admit. She wore clothes borrowed from her friends to maintain her image, Estella revealed. But now, with them moving away, Yasmin feels even more isolated. The mention of the friends who previously supported Yasmin's facade and who ended in her absence from school, brought an additional dimension to the young woman's pain. It wasn't just a matter of vanity or materialism. It was about belonging and the struggle to maintain an identity that now seemed fragile. Marisol, moved by compassion and the desire to help, suggested an idea: what if Yasmin sold the cakes at school? It could be a way to help financially and, who knows, even rebuild some of the bridges with her classmates. The answer was simple, but it had the potential to transform a source of shame into one of strength and independence for Yasmin. Estella considered the suggestion with interest. That might work. I'm going to talk to her, she said, hope shining a new light on her face. The conversation between Marisol and Estella, although brief, wove an unexpected bond of understanding and mutual support, a testament to the power of community and empathy. When Yasmin returned from her solitary visit to the plaza, she found her mother eager to discuss Marisol's proposal. Yasmin's reaction was a mixture of indignation and resistance. You want me to do what? Sell cakes at school, she exclaimed, unable to hide her disgust at the idea. For Yasmin, the suggestion seemed not only a challenge to his already damaged image, but also a sentence of definitive social exclusion. Estella, however, stood firm, with a conviction born of necessity and unconditional love for her daughter. She insisted that it was an opportunity not only for financial relief, but for personal growth. Yasmin, we need this, and who knows, maybe it won't be as bad as you think, Estella argued, her determination echoing off the walls of the room. Kitchen, reluctantly and without alternatives, Yasmin agreed to take the cakes to school, a decision that carried with it the weight of uncertainty and fear, but also, although she could not see it yet, carried the seed of a possible financial and social redemption. When Yasmin entered school that Monday, bringing with her a box of pastries, Marisol's eyes immediately focused on her, filled with a mixture of concern and curiosity. In the classroom, some students, although less vocal, shared a feeling of satisfaction at seeing the truth revealed, judging Yasmin for her past attitudes. Marisol, horrified by how quickly the class turned against Yasmin, stood up with an authority that demanded attention and rebuked the class with firm words. "This is enough," she exclaimed, silencing the classroom. "You are judging and ridiculing someone based on their financial situation, something that is out of your control. This reflects more on you than on Yasmin," Marisol continued, challenging each student to reflect on his actions and prejudices. Valentina, upon seeing the photo and the class's reaction, felt a pang of indignation. For her, this exposure was not a cause for celebration but rather a violation of Yasmin's privacy and dignity. Her face showed a mix of worry and determination, ready to defend her new friend against the cruel judgment of her peers. The arrival of lunch brought Estella, who graciously handed Yasmin another box of pastries. Although visibly affected by the revelation and the treatment of her colleagues, Yasmin found comfort in the presence of Estella and Valentina. The three shared lunch together, a moment of solidarity and true friendship emerging in the midst of adversity. During the meal, the words exchanged between Yasmin and Valentina were not just casual conversations but expressions of support and understanding. "You are not alone in this," Valentina assured Yasmin, while Estella gratefully observed the young woman's kindness towards her daughter. Encouraged by Valentina and with the support of Estella, Yasmin decided to continue the bake sale during lunch. Yasmin and Valentina set up their little cake bench with renewed confidence. Estella watched from afar, her heart warmed by the support her daughter received. As students approached, drawn by the sweet aroma and enthusiastic recommendations from those who had already tried the pastries, the atmosphere was one of curiosity and appetite, not judgment. The same girl who had made fun of Yasmin earlier approached again, her smile full of malicious intent. "Still trying to be salesperson of the year, Yasmin?" she teased, hoping to trigger the same reaction as before. However, Yasmin, strengthened by Valentina's solidarity in the certainty that she was doing what was necessary, responded with impressive calm. "I'm doing what I can to help my family," she said, her steady gaze and steady voice reflecting a newfound maturity. "And I'm grateful to have people by my side who understand that." The girl, surprised by the response and the lack of a target for her mockery, stepped back, her attempted mockery losing strength in the face of Yasmin's dignity. As lunch drew to a close, the pastry box was emptied once again, symbolizing not only the sales success but also the acceptance and support of the school community. Estella joined Marisol, Yasmin, and Valentina, all gathered to count the money raised. The total was significant, enough to bring immediate relief to some of the family's outstanding bills, but not enough to completely resolve their financial difficulties. "This already helps a lot. I am sure that my mother will greatly thank us and the school after this," Yasmin reflected, grateful for the support received. Valentina, with a determined smile, looked at Yasmin and proposed, "How about we continue with sales through the school and through other channels too? It seems like we have something good happening here and it would be great to spread this further. Don't you think?" Yasmin, encouraged by the success and the strengthening of her new friendships, agreed. "Yes, we can do it, not only at school, but maybe even on the street, anything to get my house's bills out of the red. My mother is so worried that it makes me sad to see her," she confessed with determination. Estella, with her voice choked with emotion and gratitude, but aware of reality, stated, "We still have a long way to go. I'm not going to stop with sales. If you don't stop, I think we make a good team." Observing this interaction and getting closer and closer to the two young women, Marisol felt immense pride in her students. "I fully support it," she said. "They have shown what is possible when we work together for a common goal." In the following days, Yasmin and Valentina, with Estella's blessing and Marisol's support, expanded their sales operations. Armed with a portable table, a colorful tablecloth and an assortment of delicious pastries, they ventured beyond the school gates, selling on the nearby streets. Word of their efforts and the quality of the cake spread, attracting not only students but also members of the local community. Yasmin and Valentina's initiative became more than a temporary solution to a financial problem. It became a symbol of resilience, friendship and mutual support. Sales continued to grow. Each cake sold was a small step toward stability for Yasmin's family and a large step in strengthening unexpected ties within the school community. Yasmin's transformation did not go unnoticed in the school hallways, where once there was a young woman shrouded in pride and distance. Now she was an inspiring leader whose journey led her to value humility and gratitude. The friendship with Valentina, which blossomed under unlikely circumstances, became a tangible example of the transformative power of support and understanding. Estella, after months of continuous effort and unexpected support from the school community, finally brought good news home. "We managed to stabilize ourselves," she announced one night, her voice shaking with relief and joy. The news was greeted with hugs and tears of happiness, a milestone that symbolized not only the overcoming of financial difficulties, but also the strengthening of family ties and collective resilience. The success of the cake project, initially a means to address an urgent need, was now becoming a source of inspiration and pride. Yasmin and Valentina, reflecting on the impact they had created, began to imagine the future. "What if we didn't stop here?" Yasmin suggested one day while they shared a sandwich at recess. What if we continued even after graduation? Valentina, always ready to embrace new possibilities, smiled at the idea. Imagine, Yasmin and Valentina, owners of a bakery. It doesn't sound so bad, she joked, her imagination already painting images of a small but cozy bakery, full of laughter, delicious pastries. And a gathered community, they laughed together, allowing themselves to dream of a future where their friendship and joint efforts would transform into something even greater. The sound of their laughter attracted the attention of some classmates, who joined the conversation, expressing their support and admiration. "I would definitely be a loyal customer," one of them said, and others agreed, excited by the idea. When the recess bell rang, marking the time to return to the classroom, Yasmin and Valentina exchanged a knowing look. What started as a joke between two friends now seemed like a real possibility, a dream that could be achieved with the same determination and hard work that had brought them to this point. "I can't believe I'm almost here. It seems like yesterday we started high school," Valentina shared, her tone mixing nostalgia and anticipation. Yasmin agreed, reflecting on his own journey of transformation. "So much has changed, hasn't it? And to think of everything we've been through together," he said, looking at Valentina with a grateful smile. "And now, the bakery will be the beginning of something new for us." The next few days passed in a blur of preparations and expectations. When graduation day finally arrived, the atmosphere was electric. Estella, proud and excited, was one of the special guests, along with Marisol, who had been more than a teacher for Yasmin and Valentina. She had become a mentor, an invaluable support figure. During the celebration, between hugs, tears of joy and laughter, Yasmin and Valentina took advantage of a quiet moment to share their vision of the bakery with Marisol and Estella. "We are thinking about opening our own bakery," Yasmin began, her enthusiasm evident, "not just as a business, but as a place that can bring people together, that can be a point of light in the community, just as it was at school." Marisol smiled, her eyes shining with pride. "I always knew you two would do amazing things, and a bakery is a wonderful idea," she responded genuinely, moved by the ambition and heart behind the project. Estella, excited, added her blessing. "Seeing how far we've come, Yasmin, you've overcome so many challenges, and Valentina, your friendship and support have been invaluable gifts. A bakery that spreads that goodness to the world is everything I could wish for you." With the unanimous support of Marisol and Estella, the idea for the bakery, which began as a shared dream during a school break, was beginning to take shape as a tangible plan. Graduation night continued, a celebration filled with joy and expectations for the future. But for Yasmin and Valentina, it also marked the beginning of their next great adventure together. Graduation was a moment of closure for many high school stories, but for Yasmin and Valentina it was just the beginning of a new journey. One they would undertake together, with the love and support of their community, family and friends. The future of the bakery was full of possibilities, and they were ready to make each one a reality. With graduation behind them and their diploma in hand, Yasmin and Valentina faced the future with determination and a shared dream, opening their own bakery. The beginning was modest, a reflection of the lessons learned from school bake sales. They started with a small rented shop in a quiet corner of town, determined to make the space not just a business, but a welcoming gathering point for the community. In the early days, the aroma of freshly baked pastries and breads filled the air, attracting the first curious customers. With each cake sold, Yasmin and Valentina felt not only their confidence grow, but also their connection with those around them. They took turns between the counter and the oven, each day learning and adjusting, always maintaining the vision of a place that reflected human warmth and welcome. As the years passed, Yasmin and Valentina's bakery flourished. What began as a modest establishment was now a landmark in the community, known for its delicious homemade products and for being a place where friends and families gathered. The decor, punctuated by photos and local art, told the story of their journey and those who supported them along the way. On a particularly sunny day, Estella and Marisol made their usual visit to the bakery, something that became a beloved tradition for both of them. Upon entering, they were greeted by the familiar jingling of the door and warm smiles. The bakery was busy, humming with the energy of a typical afternoon, but Yasmin and Valentina always made time for Estella and Marisol. Sitting at their favorite table, with cups of steaming coffee and a selection of the bakery's best sweets, the four women shared laughter and stories. "You have transformed this place into something really special," Marisol commented, looking around in admiration. "It's not just about how delicious the pastries are, but how people feel at home here." Estella, her eyes shining with pride, agreed. "I always knew Yasmin was capable of great things," she said, squeezing her daughter's hand, "and Valentina, you have become part of the family. Together you have created more than a business, you have built a piece of the heart of this city." Yasmin and Valentina exchanged glances, a mixture of gratitude and contentment on their faces. "We only achieved it because we had the support of people like you," Yasmin responded. "This place is a testament to everything we have overcome and all the joys we have shared." As the afternoon gave way to the beginning of the night, conversations flowed freely between memories of the past and plans for the future. When it was time to say goodbye, they did so with tight hugs and promises to return soon. Yasmin and Valentina stood at the door, watching Estella and Marisol walk away, a feeling of accomplishment filling their hearts. The bakery, once just a shared dream, was now a vibrant symbol of friendship, perseverance, and the beauty found in community togetherness. And as the lights of the bakery glowed against the darkening sky, Yasmin and Valentina knew that, no matter what the future held, they were ready to face it together, supported by the love and trust of those they considered family.